Um,
So you were discussing about taking pictures and not being able to share pictures of faces and stuff, but you got the outside of the building. I did want to kind of see if I can share my screen really quick. I did want to show, can you guys see this at all?
no.
No, not right now.
No, you can't see it. Darn. Okay.
If you want, you can email it to us.
Okay. Well, anyway, when we were going to take turns discussing if all of the group members were here, I was going to kind of show how I took some pictures of inside of the kids, like their like try to get more of the back of their faces and some of the activities that they were doing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it was kind of neat. They do a lot of stuff to try to keep them active and like break up the day and that kind of thing. And so she had like an iPad or her computer and had like dancing and stuff. And the kids were just like dancing around the room. And that was part of their like physical exercise because they can't go outside because it was too cold. So I had a whole bunch of pictures on my desktop and I was going to show you guys a few of them when I talked about kind of where things were at with mine, but it'll be, I think, helpful as far as when we go to make our presentation and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah, I got pictures of the inside, but some of the kids' faces got in there.
Mm-hmm.
But I kind of missed them. They were funny.
I know, right?
Yeah. Definitely got a lot of love, and they were, at least the kids that I had been working with, there just wasn't enough lap space because when we would sit down on the carpet, there'd be about 3 or 4 kids that would want to like come and sit on my lap when they were listening to a book or anything like that. And they just were kind of all over me. Mm-hmm. And then it's just really kind of a big change to go to, you're walking down the street now to get fresh air and you take your dog out for a walk. And when people are walking down the sidewalk and they see you, because everybody knows we're supposed to stay at least 6 feet away from each other, like people see you coming and then they just veer like cross the street. Mm-hmm. So that they're nowhere near, like you're not getting any contact with anybody except for your family. And I love my family, but it is really weird to go from one week having 3 leg and hugging me and like just loving having me around to stay away from everyone. Mm-hmm. But,
yeah, I only was able to get 8 hours done because I had scheduled mid-March, and then the next week is when they closed everything down. And so my second day, which would have gotten me my 16 hours, I wasn't able to do because they closed everything. But it was nice enough that they were able to go outside, and actually their outdoor equipment was pretty nice, but you only have 3 people there to help with however many students, and they didn't even have all the students there. So it was a lot of kids for just what's usually 2 people, but with 1 extra person, it's 3. But even still, it's a lot of kids.
Yeah, I got on swing duty. I had to put them on the swings and like one more push. I was like, you need to go play. I am tired of pushing you right now. But they were.
I don't know how many kids you guys have had in your classrooms, but in the classroom that I was in, there's been 16 each time.
Oh, wow.
And there's only 2 providers there. And with kind of the way the kids are and their social skills and their listening skills, kind of where they're at right now, mm-hmm. I'm not going to lie, it was mass chaos.
I bet.
The room is chaos. And I'm thinking, what do they do when we're not here? I mean, they seemed really glad to have me there. And the kids love it too, because there's one more person like giving them attention that they are just desperately wanting. But it gets pretty chaotic.
One of the things that they talked about when I had went and helped was they asked me if I was going to be eating lunch with the kids, and I was like, well, I mean, I can, but she had told me that the more people that they have, the more food and other supplies and stuff they can use. They actually get refunded the money spent to have extra people there. They get refunded that money, and so they try to have extra people there so that they get a bit of refund.
I did not know that.
I didn't, but they did encourage me to eat with them breakfast and lunch both days that I was there. And I did notice, like, they eat family style. And whenever I would try to like help one of the kids with something, the teacher would kind of correct me, like, oh, no, they can do it themselves. They, don't help them, let them do it on their own. And I'm like, oh, okay. Well, they pour their own milk, they pour their own water, they gather their own servings. Please pass the scrambled eggs or whatever, and they pass things to each other. And it's a hot mess, like at the end of the meal, but they do it all themselves, and it's kind of neat to see, and I really like that they do that. But I ate the meals there, and sometimes I'm like, oh my gosh, I can see that they're putting their fingers all over things and coughing on things, and I can see that they've been snotty, and I'm like, oh, please let me have the food first, because I'm not gonna eat this. But yeah.
So did you have different age groups?
For me, I only had one 3-year-old in our classroom. He's actually the one who I think has some behavioral problems, because he tends to have a hard time not losing control. He's the one that punched me on the first day in the first 2 hours that I had been there. And I've never experienced that ever around kids. And then the rest of the kids in our class were 4 and 5 years old.
Okay. Yeah, because when I had went, they had 2 separate time slots. They had a morning time and a like afternoon time. And the morning time was the older kids, which was 4-year-olds, and then the second time slot was mostly 3-year-olds.
That would be different.
It was a very different dynamic from just going from the age of 4 to the age of 3. The 4-year-olds were all very chatty, wanted to have help with everything, and then also wanted to do everything on their own. It was very interesting dynamic. And then with the 3-year-olds, we had one girl who had broke her arm, and so she was having trouble with doing any of her things. So she would get frustrated, and then she's like, can I please have some help? And I'm like running painting, and I'm like, I can try, but I don't really know what you want. So I actually ended up taking some masking tape, and I taped her paper to the table so that it wouldn't slide away from her while she was painting.
Aww.
But, yeah, so it was a very different dynamic. The 3-year-olds were very sweet. The 4-year-olds were very sassy. It was very different.
Yeah, she broke her arm. The third day I was there. She was walking on some brick and fell.
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, she's gone. She broke her arm.
Yeah, she was back when I went.
Yeah.
Poor thing.
And then there was I think she was 3. She was nonverbal. So it was really hard to understand what she wanted. But she might have been sick when you were there.
Yeah, I think that she was. There were a whole bunch of kids that were sick when I went. Just like the day or two before, they had one of the girls go home because she came to class fine, and then within the few hours that they were there, she just went pale, got black circles under her eyes, and then her fever just spiked, and so they had to take her home. But
Wow.
Yeah, they had a lot of kids that were sick.
What have you been doing, Kessa?
I was scheduled to do my first volunteer time after everything got canceled, so I didn't get any hours in. But I looked at the list that he sent us, and one of the options was to make some lesson plans for younger grades. And my son's in kindergarten, and his school actually doesn't have a plan for him right now. They just sent some websites with games for us, so I'm kind of working on stuff for him. So I figured while I'm doing that, I can work on some other lesson plans for maybe some other grades and do that as part of my service learning.
Yeah, that seems like it would tie in well with the Head Start stuff.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Has anybody encountered any language barriers with any of their kids?
Yes. Actually, the teacher's assistant speaks Spanish.
Mhm.
So they're very fortunate to have someone who is able to communicate when words start to fail when it comes to English.
Yeah.
But there were a lot of kids that actually spoke Spanish there.
Yeah, it was kind of cool.
Mm-hmm.
You would say stuff in Spanish to them and then translate it to everyone else.
Mm-hmm.
Or the main teacher would ask the assistant to translate into Spanish to those kids
Mm-hmm.
because they wouldn't respond in English.
Mm-hmm.
Our teacher occasionally would ask, there was an assistant in the room, Mr. Doug, and he was actually the translator for the Muslim family. So I thought that was really interesting.
That's awesome.
Because he doesn't, I mean, it appears to be something that he just kind of learned. It does not appear to be like his faith or, like it just appeared to be that it was something that he learned and was able to communicate with them. And she would say, okay, make sure that they know this and this and this. And he would go and talk to them every time they would come and make sure that they have all the information that they need. And that little boy was one that I got kind of attached to because his name is really neat. For one thing, I don't know if you guys have seen The Lion King, but his name is Mustafa.
Oh, that's awesome.
I thought that was really cool. And I noticed throughout the day, sometimes he would be doing like a sucking. And I think he's 4 or 5 years old. And you would see him like his tongue kind of sticking out and he looked like he was sucking on a bottle or something. And I'm like, that's kind of like regressive type behaviors and stuff. And I mentioned something to the teacher one time about it. And she said that not that long ago, he lost an infant sister. And that afterwards he cried a lot and stuff. And so I think he's kind of regressing to like some baby type behaviors because he's struggling to deal with it. And so that was kind of like touching and just something that, I would never even think about when I would see a behavior like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
What kind of lesson plans do you have right now, Kessa?
I've done a little bit of reading and some math stuff. I'm trying to figure out how to put it together to make sense for someone other than me, but yeah, working on it.
I could sure use some lesson plans for my kindergartner right now.
Yeah.
Seems like everybody is homeschooling their kids and I'm just trying to keep everything else going. And I'm like, yep, I'm that bad mom who was not prepared to be making lesson plans and homeschooling my own child right now.
We're at about 15 minutes right now. Do we want to keep going for the full time or I don't know what to do.
I think we should try to get 20 minutes if we can of, communicating about where we're at. I know we didn't record kind of the first 10 minutes or so of our conversation when we got on, since we need to still connect with Maribel. But this is all obviously not an ideal situation for all of us, but I think that we're all going to come out stronger by working together and figuring out how to, accomplish the task of getting our service leadership project done. And it'll be a memorable experience for us all. I mean, this is kind of something that's just incredibly different than anything than we would ever imagine happening this semester.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of teaching me anyway about learning to be adaptable and trying to trust that everything will be okay, and to not worry about like a week from now or how we're going to make everything work, but just kind of trusting each day and taking one day at a time and working together as a team to get all this done.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I just realized something. This is off topic, but I could probably just wait and post this when we get in touch with Maribel as one submission.
Yeah.
I didn't even it didn't even faze me. But yeah, this whole situation it's something to, I don't know. You kind of just go day by day, hoping nothing bad happens, I guess. I mean, I'm fortunate enough to still be working, and some people in my department got cut and furloughed. And thankfully, because of school, I'm partial part-time in my position, but I work part-time hours. And so they're like, yeah, you can keep your hours, but don't rub it into people, basically. Because the full-time people got cut to 30 hours, and then part-time people got cut to 12 hours.
Mm-hmm.
Like, well, I kind of feel bad, but your girl needs money for school.
I had to try to apply for unemployment, which I can't remember if I've ever done that or when I've ever done that, but I was sitting here thinking, I don't have a paycheck. I have no idea when a paycheck is coming. I don't get to make a dime until the schools open again. And at this point, with them saying that the peak of the illness in Iowa will be 2 to 3 weeks from now, I do not foresee our kids being back in school on April 13th. I don't even know if I feel like May will even happen. Like I said, I'm trying to trust and take one day at a time.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm looking at possibly not having a paycheck for an extended period of time. And that puts all the weight on my husband's shoulders. I want to try one more time to see if I can try to share my screen, because I really want to show you guys this picture.
It did the last time.
It
Okay.
took a minute, but it
Yeah.
eventually pulled up.
Okay. Let me know if and when you guys can see anything.
Yep, I can see something.
Okay. So do you guys see this picture?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
This is one of my husband's coworkers.
Oh my Lord.
My husband does not get to, this is not my husband. My husband does not get to stay home from work during all this.
Mm-hmm.
He has to go out there. This is one of the other officers in there in the other car. This is at the beginning of their shift. And at the beginning of their shift, every night, they have to have their temperature taken. Surreal. I mean, I have to feel kind of blessed that I am being given the opportunity to be with my family right now. I'm able to be with my kids when they're young. And, but it would be a game changer if my husband went to work and ended up getting, the coronavirus, and then he would not be able to come home. They have a place, in Waukee that he would have to quarantine until he could come home.
Mm-hmm.
And so anyway, it's just, one of those things. But I just really wanted to show you the picture because I thought it was kind of I mean, it's funny, but it's really not.
Every building that you walk into, you have to get screened, your temperature. They ask you if you've been coughing, trouble breathing. Have you been out of the state in the last 2 weeks? Have you been exposed to anybody? And if you say yes to any of those questions, you have to put a mask on. And then they give you a label if you're cleared.
Yeah. I had to take one of my children to urgent care, and there was somebody at the door when the doors opened that took both of our temperatures and then put a green sticker on us for us to be able to go to urgent care and have him checked out.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Yeah, kind of historical, memorable.
Well, it's been about 20 minutes. We all can meet again, I guess, when Maribel responds back to us. Meet for however long, and then call it good, I guess.
Yeah. If you're able to, I'm not sure exactly how this program works with recording. Since we did talk for a while, if we can get in touch with Maribel, we could record that session separately, and we could probably combine the two of them in iMovie or some sort of video.
Way ahead of me, man.
Or some sort of video thing. That way we don't have to like take an extended amount of time out since we've already all had a conversation.
Right.
So then I guess what we could do is just like, once we figure out another time, we could just all kind of hop on, talk about like, all right, this is how many hours we have. This is kind of our thoughts on things, and then continue on from there. And then just combine the two through some sort of video editing software.
Yeah.
If you know how to do that, are you willing to help us do that?
Yeah, I can do that. I've done it before.
Okay.
I had to do the small group communications class, and we were having trouble getting all of our parts synchronized with our presentation. So I had to synchronize it, and it was not fun. But I can do it.
Okay. Any last thoughts, anybody?
Nope.
I just want to wish you all the best, and I mean, obviously we'll be talking more, but be safe, and hopefully school is going okay for you, and I wish the best for all of you.
Yeah.
Alrighty, well, I will see you guys sometime this week again.
All right.
Sounds good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, see ya.
Bye.
Okay, so we talked about like how far we've gotten in our project, and you said that you're almost done, Maribel, or?
I'm done. I was done before this thing started. So yeah.
Okay, so you have 15 hours already?
Yeah, I finished mine. Okay, I was looking for like the Dropbox so we can send what do you call that? For the hours that they did, right? He hasn't posted it, right? The folder where we can put the hours, the paperwork.
I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think that he's posted any of that yet.
Okay.
How was your interaction with the kids?
It was fun. Kind of like, how could I say it? Because I'm always around with my two kids also. So I feel like it's just the same. Like I go in there, it's just like more kids, more attention that they needed. Like wherever I go, they follow me. And then everyone's will like need attention. And if you don't give them, you get hit. Like one of the kids, like, hey, grab my hair, and he's like, hey, you're not looking at me. I said, oh, okay. But it was fun though. I play with them, I read books, help them sleep, and help them with serving food. I think I done pretty much everything.
Did you notice like any cultural differences or like restrictions, or not really restrictions, but
Like barriers.
barriers? Yeah.
I think one that I noticed is there's a kids in there. You know, she speaks Spanish, and she kept speaking on me in Spanish, and I didn't speak Spanish. I was like, I honestly don't know what you're talking about. So I asked the teacher, and they don't know it also. So I couldn't really answer the kids. I felt bad, but what can I do? You know what I mean? And other than that, I think the one that I really like notice is like the attitude. Different kids, well, how could I say it? Like you can tell which one is like disciplined at home and which one is not.
Sure. At the Ames location, there was a Spanish translator that would talk to the kids in Spanish and then get their answers and then transfer or translate it back to English to the teacher, which was cool.
Oh, that's nice.
And then there's a couple of kids that one was nonverbal, but she would talk to me a little bit, but it was kind of hard to get words out of her. But
you were in the Des Moines location, right?
West Des Moines, yeah.
West Des Moines.
The one in Oxford. I think she's the only one who speaks Spanish in there. That's probably why they don't have translator, or maybe they have, but when I was there, no.
Yeah.
And she's the only kid who speaks Spanish. There's a lot other kids also that Spanish, but they know how to speak English. So. Yeah. And then there's one kid in there. She have a herniation on her belly. I felt so bad for her because other kids like keep picking on it, and she would cry out of because of probably of pain. I was like, oh my god.
Yeah.
how old were they? You know?
Yeah, that's it. Pretty much. I think I would say my experience is like I can tell that I learn a lot from different perspective, like different culture and different like how you communicate with other kids other than my kids, and how to like be involved in what they're doing and how to participate them for like what in their learnings. Say hi.
Did anybody else have a goal of doing more hours to try to graduate with chords? Do more than the 15?
I was planning to do that, but they're closed now though. They're not accepting like volunteers for a while because of this.
I'm kind of wondering if later on, like if you're not graduating this semester or at the end, at the end of this year, if they will still allow us to like pick up where we left off and finish out our hours so that we could still, satisfy the 30 hours or however many hours
Mhm.
we would need.
Yeah.
Because that had been my goal. But after my last time that I was there, I was at 16. So I had her fill out my paperwork like I was done.
Mhm.
But I told her that I had to like get back to doing, picking up some hours at work during the month of March, and that I would come back in April. And then now we're in the situation where we can't go back. So I'm just curious how that'll all work out down the road, you know.
I think it should be fine since it's not part of the class requirement. I think you could do anything throughout the time that you're at Mercy.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that I'm not 100% sure, but I know that one of the emails mentioned that like people who would be graduating with cords, that
We
they
need
were
more-
working around it, but I'm not sure if that's like actually a thing that is actually going to happen or not, because that
Yeah.
email got sent out a while ago and then everything happened, and so I hadn't heard anything about if they were going to make any like changes or exceptions.
Changes. Yeah, I was thinking about that too, because for all these things, I don't think it will be like done. I don't know. We're probably gonna need more, like couple more months before all this stuff will be done. Well, it's hard to say.
Yeah.
Well, and I'm not in my last semester of school. I still have a while to go. So I was like, well, I
Yeah, me
still
too.
have time to get it done, you know, to satisfy the requirement for this course. I think
Mhm.
I'm there. But for down the road, I would think they would gladly accept, you know, volunteers to do
Yeah,
continuing service learning after
Yeah.
everything is back to normal.
Yeah.
Mhm.
They should, I think.
I would assume so.
Mm-hmm.
And also, I emailed out the other day a link to just a Google document. So if you had any like notes or anything that you wanted to write down about your experience or things that you think might go well with our project that we
I see.
will end up doing,
Yeah, I see
if
that.
you want to write them down in there
So
so
we
that
can
everyone
start.
has them. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I did mine last night. Hopefully it's there.
Yeah, it is. I hopped on this morning. I haven't got to mine yet, but yours are up.
Perfect. All right, good. Because I saved it somewhere else just in case for some reason
Mhm.
there's any issues.
Mhm.
So just like write what experience we get.
Yeah,
Experience.
like if you had any experiences that like stood out to you or that you think
Mhm.
might we might be able to like talk about or use in our project, then write them down so that everyone else kind of like understands.
Okay.
And then that way we all are kind of on the same page for everyone's different experiences and stuff like that.
Yeah, I kind of like curious about it because he said write the paper, so he didn't really like tell. You know, I don't know. I haven't seen the rubrics if he has it. So I don't have an idea. I thought it was just like a reflection for what we learned and you know for the whole 15 hours that we did.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll double check.
Yeah, and it's no big deal. Like we still have time to work on the project and everything. But I figured since we all had different experiences at like different locations and stuff, it's like there's going to be some differences. So just so that everyone's kind of on the same page, then everything's in one place and we all have access to it.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
I did print the guidelines for the team project and presentation. And it's kind of long, all the different stuff that we, but the paper that we have to do is 3 to 4 pages. So yeah, we'll definitely have to be gathering information from like all of our experiences. And so I think that document, Google document, will be super helpful as far as knowing what we're supposed to write about or to try to put it together, since we can't like get together one day and like work on the bare bones writing it.
Okay.
And he
So more likely like
I know
one
that he
paper each.
changed some of the guidelines for what the future project is. And I know Kessa had said that she wasn't able to do the ones at Head Start because her scheduled date got canceled because of the sicknesses and everything. So I'm not sure how that will play into the project. I know that it said like you had to have at least each person had to have 8 hours done at your agreed location to continue on with that. So I'm not 100% sure how that'll affect us. We might need to have her email him to double check about that.
She should just ask him what she should do. Maybe she has to start or move to somewhere else to start her community service. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, and because she said that she was going to be doing like lesson plans and stuff, which does follow kind of in track with some of what the Head Start did and stuff like that, helping around the classroom. But it had mentioned in the email that he sent out about the changes that made, we had option 1 and 2. And then option 1 was that everyone had completed them already. And then option 2 was that everyone had completed at least 8 hours. And then we'll finish out the remaining hours using the other online things. So I'm not 100% sure what to do about that since she wasn't able to get any of the Head Start stuff.
Okay. She haven't done any hours yet?
Yeah, she had scheduled in March and then it got, her dates got canceled, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Because like we can fill her in with everything that happened with us, but like it's different
her experience.
than experiencing it.
Yeah.
I almost feel like all of us except for her would be able to do option 1, since I mean there's still several of us who have accomplished the hours, and then maybe she would need to reach out about it says
different options.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I wonder if she might have to do something a little different.
Yeah, because I don't know how that's going to affect like the whole working together as a team, because with that having changed, if she wasn't able to do the ones that we were doing, I don't know if that means that we're going to have to completely like change the project, change our like course that we're going off of, or if we'll just have to incorporate the things that she did as well. So just something to keep in mind. We might shoot her a text after this.
She probably gonna end up doing a different, I don't know. Maybe there's somebody else also that haven't done anything. So maybe Dr. Moore will, I don't know.
Yeah, because option 2 is it says combination of option 1 or the following, but it says in bold letters, if you or any of your team members have already completed at least 8 hours of service learning, then you can do such and such. But since she wasn't able to complete that, I'm not 100% sure how that'll change. Which she can, like, there's a whole list of things that she can pull from, but there wasn't an option for, like, if you haven't completed at least 8 hours, like, this is what you need to do. So.
Oh, yeah. That sucks.
Yeah. But that might end up changing some of our project if it does end up being an issue, I guess. But yeah, we might, if someone wants to shoot her a text afterwards and have her email the professor, and or if one of us wants to email and ask about it.
I think it's better if she's the one who will do it, because she can,
She knows her situation.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
her situation, so we really don't know what's her reason for not, starting early. So I'll text her. I'll let her know.
Okay.
I just don't know.
Text her now.
We'll see what she says.
Okay.
Alrighty. Any last words?
Well,
I think we're good. Thank you guys. I'm sorry last night.
yeah, you're fine. Don't worry about it.
It's okay. Make sure to document your hours, ladies.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do have, and I actually asked them to like sign to my two papers because I was worried that I'm gonna lose one, so at least I have a different record. And then the evaluation, I did the same, 2 copies of it. she's probably thinking, why the hell I have to do two? I said, I'm sorry. I just want to make sure that I get 2 copies in case, just in case.
Yeah.
No, Stella, no.
Alrighty.
All right. Thank you so much. You guys have a good night.
Yeah,
You too.
Bye.
All right,
Bye.
Bye.